Meeting of the Board of Schools Trustees held here in our Administrative Service Center, maybe for the last time, but we don't know that for sure. One more. All right. Thank you, Dr. Terrell. So with that, if everybody could please rise, Mr. Babjack will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I saw a green button on, and I just wanted to make sure we needed that button on, so thank you, Mr. Gill. Item 2 is tonight's patrons' comments. There being none, we'll move on to item 3, our consent agenda. Dr. Terrell?
Thank you for your consideration this evening. We have 3.01, which is the minutes of our regular business meeting, 3.02, the personnel agenda, and then 3.03, the voucher registered checks as listed.
You have heard the recommendation of the consent agenda as mentioned. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Babjack, seconded by Ms. Bazin. Questions or discussion on any of the 3 items under the consent agenda?
Yes, Mr. Angel, I'd like to make a public apology from the last meeting that I gave the incorrect information having to do with redevelopment meetings and our chance to finally get to vote on those. And I was incorrect, and I apologize specifically to you and to Mr. Smith, as we all 3 serve on those commissions, and also to Mr. Reese, because I gave him the wrong information as well. So I wanted to publicly state that I made a mistake there.
Well, thank you for that, Mr. Vassar.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that comment. Any other question or discussion on the consent agenda?
Are we doing the entire one or just that?
Just the 3, 1, 2, and 3. under the
Yes,
consent.
on personnel agenda, I will be voting yes on those, but I still am persistent, and I think this is a policy we need to look at and discuss down the road, where people are employed and already working, and then we're voting after they're working. And I think as a board, it's something we need to discuss.
Mr. Vassar, I'll take that into account as we've had that discussion in the past. And being that you've brought it up now another time,
Yeah.
we'll see on where we could lead that to have that at a minimal, if anything, or an adjustment on that end.
Thank you.
Okay? Any other questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries 4-0. Just for the record too, Mr. Smith, our 5th board member this evening, is just out ill, so hence why there's 4 this evening. Action item 4.01, textbook and resource adoption for use beginning in 2023-24. Mrs. Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight, we are requesting that the board approve the finance and investment course curricular material of Fundamentals of Investing, which is the 13th edition of this resource to be used in the business department for this course that is being offered as a sequence of finance classes. And so the administration recommends the school board approve the textbook as listed for use this school year, 23-24.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration for the approval of the textbook for the class of fundamentals of, or I'm sorry, for the course Finance and Investment, with the material being Fundamentals of Investing, 13th edition. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Babjack, seconded by Ms. Bazin. Questions or discussion?
Ms. Ramirez, is this book already being used?
This book is being used. The book that was previously going to be used was out of print, and we could not receive it, so we cannot use it. And so we had to find another supplement, and so this one had to get started because of the fact that the other one, we were told very late into the summer, was not going to be able to be produced.
So is it still on the way, though, or is it already here?
No, we were able to cancel because they're not publishing it, so then we have to move to a backup option here, which also meets the same requirements and has the same standards and aligns with the college kind of expectations for the course.
Thank you.
Yes.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries 4-0. Item 4.02, school safety specialist candidates for 2023, 2024. Mr. Gianfermi.
Thank you, Mr. President, board members. Crown Point School Corporation has been participating in the school safety specialist program offered by the Indiana Department of Education for several years. You have a list of approximately 50 individuals that have been through basic training and are school safety specialists. Pursuant to House Enrolled Act 1492, school safety, moving forward, all school safety specialists need to be approved or disapproved by the school board. For this year, we are recommending that the school board approve the following individuals to enroll in school safety specialist basic training for fall 2023. Laura Florick, Assistant Principal at MacArthur Elementary. Melanie Pochek, Assistant Principal at Solon Elementary. Annie Lorick, Assistant Principal of Crown Point High School. And Lynn Elkire, Associate Principal of Crown Point High School.
You've heard the recommendation of the school board, you've heard the recommendation of the administration for the approval of the school safety specialist basic training in the fall of 2023. Laura Florick, Assistant Principal at MacArthur Elementary. Molly Pasai, how do you say that?
Pochek.
Pochek, thank you. Molly Pochek, Assistant Principal, Solon Elementary. Annie Lorick, Assistant Principal, Crown Point High School. And Lynn Elkire, Associate Principal, Crown Point High School. May I have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Motion by Mr. Vassar, seconded by Mr. Babjak. Questions or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries 4-0. 4.03, policy revision, policy 0167.3, public comment at board meetings. Mr. Akiwa.
Thank you, Mr. President. We bring to you today policy revision of policy 0167.3, which is at the heart of the matter, a technical revision. Really, it's the change of a word. There was, you can see in the draft there that we're replacing the term participation or participate with comment, which is an accurate reflection of what we do and what is recommended. In addition, though, there are some other changes that we bring to you there, which also bring this policy, which hasn't been looked at in quite a while, but also will help it reflect exactly what we've been doing more accurately. And we're recommending this evening that the administration or the board have a first reading, waive the second reading, and adopt the updated policy as presented. And I know particularly we want to bring to light some sections in there for you possibly to have some discussion. I think at this point I'm going to pass this on to Dr. Terrell here for that.
Thank you. So one of the ones that we have in there that has been a part of our policy for many years is that people have to, when they get up to speak, when they register, they have to put their name and address. When they get up to speak, they also have to say their name and address. And working with both our attorney and then also with Luke Britt's office, getting opinions on this, we are perfectly within the rights, our rights, your rights as a board to establish the procedures for public comment at a board meeting. There is no law that states that participants must. There's no law that says that they cannot be required to do so. One of the things that I'd asked for, though, is for rationale as to if you are gonna continue that process, that procedure is for rationale of why. And I would give the perfect example was a couple of years ago, when we were going through the pandemic. There were groups of people who were going around to board meetings and signing up to speak publicly, even though they didn't live in that city, sometimes not even in the state, and they were speaking. We were fortunate here, we didn't have to deal with that. I think some of that had to do with the fact that people had to give their addresses. My recommendation to you is that we continue to ask for addresses for people to speak and make public comments as we move forward.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration to, for the policy, let me go back to my notes here. 0167.3 for public comment at board meetings, waiving the second reading and also adoption of the updated policy as presented. If I can get a motion, we'll have some discussion about that, but if I can get a motion in a second first?
Motion? Oh,
Motion? Motion by Mr. Vasher, second by Ms. Basin. So regarding discussion on this, my personal opinion would be if they list their name and address at time of sign-in, which I do feel is important as part of being part of this community and school corporation boundaries, to be able to speak or have comment at our meetings, is vital to keeping the integrity of a meeting for someone that actually has either taxpayer input or parent input. So I would be okay with as long as that address is listed, and then obviously can be checked into to make sure that those individuals are living in our school boundaries. Other than that, I have no issue with the other part, but comments?
I don't disagree with that. The only thing I will mention is, as a listener or somebody observing a meeting, I think it is helpful to know who's speaking and what area they're representing, right? So a concern may be more specific to like a local area. So when they give your address, so say I give an address, right around the high school area, or say in the Regency, and the thing I'm going to speak about is very specific to my neighborhood concerns or what, I think it gives more of an explanation to those around who are listening that is a more specific problem to maybe a certain area or neighborhood as opposed to a general thought. So I don't know that I'm opposed to having them continue to read their address out loud so that everybody knows, I don't know, I guess maybe on what behalf they're speaking or for what area that pertains to.
Mr. Vasher?
I hear what Danielle's saying. Will the people that come up to speak, will somebody be announcing their name? Because if they're not going to be announcing their name, well, for example, would you announce their name, Mr. Angel?
Correct. I will call them up, and then if we change this policy accordingly, I can read that full address along with the topic they're speaking about to kind of
That covers
answer
it
that
then.
questions and discussion we've had already. So in other words, for instance, Scott Angel, address 12399 Sullivan Court, Crown Point, Indiana, topic bus routes.
The other thing you might consider, to Danielle's point, is you could have them register if they're a parent, if they're a community member, if they're a business, whatever that might be, and or school that they're associated with. And one of the things that I think could help us in that area is if say there happens to be 10 people here, we have 20 minutes, we could prioritize and put parents first and then go from, so that way we would know that we're hearing from the people who are most impacted by the decisions that are made.
And
Go ahead.
just for you at home that are listening or watching, we do limit that section to 20 minutes, hence why Dr. Terrell's statement. So we try to keep that at 20 minutes for each board meeting, with obviously someone can always come back the next month, hence why if there's 8 people speaking, we'd move the parents to the top and spend that 20 minutes for that priority at that particular meeting.
I was gonna say, I like that idea, in terms of prioritizing parents who are, a higher level stakeholder, I guess, in many instances because their students are impacted. And I like the idea of Mr. Angel reading those off as opposed to the patron coming up and having to state all of that or restate some of that just for the sake of time.
Did we revise the policy to include parents that have students in our corporation but do not live within the boundaries? Because we have had people take the podium before, joint custody parents where one lives in Maryville, one lives in Crown Point.
Correct. And I think
We're
that
good
with the
there.
clarification of parent, that could help that as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we
That's a
should
great
include
point.
that, yeah.
All right, so with all that said, Dr. Terrell, are we comfortable in executing that policy, or do we need to execute it before? So my question is basically, do we need to bring this back with the full policy in force before approving it, or are we okay with what was discussed?
I'll look at Mr. Akiwa. I think, let's summarize first to make sure that we're all on the same page. So what we're talking about is, one, whoever wants to speak at a board meeting still is gonna have to sign in, give their address, and include if they're a parent, community member, what it might be, and school that they are associated with. Then, when it comes time for public comments, Mr. Angel, whoever's the president of the board, will call out Danielle Bazin is coming to us. She's a parent concerned with issues that are happening at Timothy Ball, and go from there. Does that encapsulate what you guys are recommending here?
That would cover it for me.
Okay.
So I would just say, then, according to the sheet here, although we'll just add a separate line for school, but also include topic as well.
Yeah.
Good with that?
And if you guys are good with that and already taken and putting that in place and wordsmithing it, then I would say go ahead and move forward tonight. If you'd rather wait and see that and print, that is absolutely fine as well. I think if I was you, I'd probably wait to see it in print, just so you can make sure that you know for sure what that's gonna be and that's your intention.
So then under 4.03 tonight, I am going to adjust the original motion to where we've discussed the first reading, and upon a second reading next month, we will adopt the updated policy as presented at that time. May I have a motion?
So we're just making a motion then to table it?
Well, to official approval, to revise and approve it at the next meeting.
Okay.
Motion by Mr. Babjack,
A second.
second by Mr. Vassar. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. 4.04, Colonel Wheeler Concession and Bulldog Park Locker Room Bid Package, Fire Sprinkler System. Mr. Reese?
Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight, we bring before you bid package number 2, which is a fire sprinkling system for the building that'll be on Colonel Wheeler's property, concession stand in the Bulldog Park locker room. That is the joint effort between the city and the schools regarding that facility. With that tonight, we held at PBS, and the school corporation held a bid regarding the sprinkling system that needs to go in there. And with that, fire sprinkling system to Valley Fire Protection Systems in the amount of $90,980. For the water service to Zeese and Sons Excavating in the amount of $29,350. For electrical and fire alarm to Continental Electric in the amount of $5,850. And the plumbing to Bloomfield Mechanical in the amount of $1,820.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration for the approval of the contracts for the Colonel Wheeler Concession and Bulldog Park Locker Room as follows. Fire sprinkler systems to Valley Fire Protection Systems in the amount of $90,980. For fire sprinkler water service to Zeese and Sons Excavating in the amount of $29,350. For electrical and fire alarm to Continental Electric Company in the amount of $5,850. And plumbing to Bloomfield Mechanical in the amount of $1,820. May I have a motion?
Motion? Oh,
So, motion by Ms. Bazin, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Vassar.
yeah. Either way.
Question or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, Mr. Reese. Eisenhower, Jerry Ross, Lake Street, MacArthur, and Solon Robinson Playgrounds. Mr. Reese.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight we bring before you the playgrounds for Eisenhower, Jerry Ross, Lake Street, MacArthur, and Solon Robinson. We're utilizing Sourcewell. It's a nationwide purchasing contract for this. This is due to the effort to coordinate the construction projects ongoing at those buildings, as well as the installation of the equipment. So with that, we're utilizing a national RFP and utilizing those to meet the bidding requirements. With that, we're recommending approval of the playground equipment, soft surfacing, and installation for Eisenhower, Jerry Ross, Lake Street, MacArthur, and Solon Robinson Playgrounds, amount of $2,652,358 to New Toys Leisure Products.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration for approval of playground equipment, soft surfacing, and installation for Eisenhower Elementary, Jerry Ross Elementary, Lake Street Elementary, MacArthur Elementary, and Solon Robinson Elementary playgrounds in the amount of $2,652,358 to New Toys Leisure Products. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Babjack, second by Ms. Bazin. Question or discussion?
Simple question on this. So the surrounding communities, neighborhoods by these buildings, will those kids that off school hours, can they still get to the playground equipment and play on it? I just
Yeah.
thought of that just now.
Yeah, they won't be locked up or anything like that. Yeah.
Again, contributing to the community. So, yep, all right. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Agenda items 5.01, construction projects update. Dr. Terrell.
Thank you. I have asked Dion Casors to be with us this evening, our main rep from Skillman, and wanted to ask him just to give us an update. As you guys know, we're off to a great start. We still have many projects that continue and are in, will continue throughout the rest of this year, some even into the next year and beyond. But we're in a really good spot with that. But just want to give you guys an update with as many things as we have going. So you have an idea, one, of timeline, two, of concerns that are out there, and then any questions that we can answer for you. So you have, I emailed to you the board update that we received from Dion earlier today that always does a great job with drone footage and pictures and to really get a scope of what's taking place. But with that, I'll turn it over to Dion.
Thank you, Dr. Terrell, members of the board. So what I'd like to do is just give you a very high-level snapshot of, I'll say, the remaining work to be completed. When we started these projects, the first one that we started working on was the middle school, new middle school, in August of '21, then followed up by the high school and then several of the elementary schools. You know, it felt like we talk about it being a marathon. It was a marathon all the way up until maybe July 31st, and then it was a sprint all the way up to August 16th. Things haven't really slowed down. We've just shifted gears and we're concentrating on the renovations and completing some of the work in some of the other buildings. So I'll go building by building really with what's remaining, starting with the new middle school. So if you were to walk in the auxiliary gym and the main gymnasium right now, auxiliary gymnasium, we just started putting the bleachers in today, and those bleachers will be complete by the end of this week. And then the bleachers for the main gym will be installed next week, the entire week next week. Auditorium will be complete mid-October. We actually installed a binder on the track this morning, and the surface will go down this Friday, and then we're gonna focus on completing the remaining site work here in the month of September. So we should be wrapping that entire project here in a bow in the next 5 to 6 weeks. Moving on to the high school, if you were to walk into the old weight room on the west side of the building near the gymnastics room, that's being renovated right now. That work started in June and will be complete with that space by November. Cafeteria expansion, the satellite kitchen area is going to be complete November, and then some of the other spaces like TV studio, fax, PLTW renovations are going to be going on from now all the way up through May, June of next year at the high school. If you drove by the multi-purpose field at the high school, or maybe you saw it this weekend, you'll see that the turf's going down. It's probably 90% complete at this point, and we anticipate the entire field being 100% complete by Labor Day, and being able to use that facility next week. Moving on to Timothy Ball, the additions for the most part are complete. We're going through and addressing some punch list items. Right now we're focusing on some of the renovations in the existing building, and the playground actually started on that one the past week and will be completed in early September. That was one project that the playground portion that you approved sometime, I believe, is at the March board meeting, so that work is underway right now. MacArthur Elementary, similar situation. The actual additions are complete, and we're focusing on the renovated portions, being the PBIS, kindergarten, kitchen areas. That project will go all the way through July of '24, and I'm going to take a step back. Timothy Ball will be complete around June of '24. So many of the projects I'm talking about right now that are still ongoing will be complete by the start of the 24-25 school year, by August, early August, I'll say. Wheeler, the auditorium completion will be mid to late September, and then we're going to start the Learning Center and existing building renovations on September to be complete by June of '24. The turf football field is complete. It was being used this afternoon, which is a great thing, so we're happy about that. New administration building, so if you've driven by Taft, what was to be demoed at Taft is completely gone now, as of approximately 2 weeks ago. The remaining portion of the education center is being transitioned to be used this week, and then the actual new building itself for the administration building will be complete by early October. Eisenhower Elementary, the classroom additions are complete. The interior renovations are also complete, with the exception of the stage that was added in the existing gym. That will be complete by late September, and then the only work left at Eisenhower after that is going to be chiller replacement, and that won't take place until November or December of this year. And then playground will actually be installed next summer. Playgrounds at the remaining elementaries, I should say, will be installed next summer, June, July of next summer.
Deanna, we decided the gym floor at Eisenhower, what that timeline?
Gym floor, there was a decision to pursue replacing the gym floor at Eisenhower. We had to look at making sure we could remove the existing bleachers, that they were intact so we can reinstall them. That's about a 12-week lead time, so we're looking at scheduling that work around Christmas break. And that'll be a rubber floor similar to what's gonna be installed at Lake Street and Solon Robinson Elementary. Solon Robinson, that was a project that was, we had to carefully think through the design on that one with the administration, and that one, as you know, that one you awarded in March, so we're starting some of those additions of that building. Some minor renovations on the interior, but a bulk of the work on the renovations really won't get going until probably December of this year into the start of next year. And those renovations will go all the way through March of '25. So that project will go on into the following year, spring of '25. Moving on to Lake Street, that one started in July. Those additions, along with interior renovations, will go all the way through September of '24. Jerry Ross Elementary, that one, I mean, if you see the two additions that went on, it's impressive, but when you walk in, it's a complete facelift in that building compared to where it was in 2002 when it was completed. So 3/4 of the building, those renovations and upgrades have been completed, and we have the last quarter to be completed by the end of this year. In Winfield Elementary, we added a bathroom in one of the classrooms over the summer, and now we're focusing on the kitchen and cafeteria addition, which started in June. That will be complete by spring of '24, and the media center and STEM renovations will start in April of '24 and be complete by August of '24. That's a very high-level snapshot of the work remaining, so at this time, I'd be more than happy to answer any of your questions.
Since you've taken the time to come here, Dion, thank you for all that. What's been the hardest part for your crews to get through? If you can even pinpoint that.
Well, COVID definitely impacted like supply chain, but we've been very fortunate. I mean, if you look at how things have gone, I say we call audibles along the way. And you make adjustments, you do work out of sequence, and we've been fortunate. I mean, equipment that we used to traditionally see in 16 to 20 weeks is now 52 weeks. So you just have to plan accordingly. But those have been some of the hurdles. Plus, there's so much work going on in the area that you can't just go to the Union Hall and grab 10 carpenters. So if you take 10 carpenters from Eisenhower you're losing them at Eisenhower, but you're gaining at Timothy Ball as an example. So there's a balance there.
Yeah.
I will say that your staff's been incredible. They're always coming and saying, how can we help? And all we say is just continue to be tolerant, because no one likes construction. I mean, while you're going through it. Like the end of it, but they've been very patient and tolerant.
Yeah.
And I would say that goes both ways in talking with our staff, from teachers to administrators to custodians to our maintenance staff, working with not just the guys from Skillman, but our subcontractors as well. It's amazing. We haven't had any big issues that have come up as far as personalities or conflicts in that manner with. There's a lot of heated times that are going on right now when you're looking at staring down opening school, and there's a lot of work to get done. I know I was in buildings on Saturday talking with a couple of the guys that were working, and some of the electricians, some of the guys from like Precision Controls that are working with our air conditioning and HVAC systems, and asked them, when was the last time you guys didn't work on a Saturday? And they can't remember. And a lot of that's our fault. But at the same time, it's really benefiting them, and it's benefiting our economy and our local groups here that are getting the jobs for those. So we really appreciate those guys and putting in the extra time as well. So they could say, no, we're not gonna work overtime. We're just gonna work our regular, and that's not happening. So they've all stepped up to the plate, and I think a lot of that has to do with the relationship that Skillman has with the union halls and the different subcontractors that we're using, so appreciate that.
Do we still feel good about the date in September for the public opening of Taft? With knowing that 5 to 6 weeks we're out, with everything being complete, but just making sure that we feel comfortable with keeping that date?
Yeah.
Okay. And once again, Dion, on behalf of the board, thank you for everything. The main part is, I don't think there's been any, other than slight interruptions, because you're gonna have them with all these projects, in the educational process. And obviously, that's what we're here to do. Some of the, gymnasiums, things like that, field turf things that aren't completed, really aren't part of the day-to-day educational. So that was the key in making sure that schools were ready to go come August 16th. So, was it August 16th? No, it was earlier than that, wasn't it? Was that the first day?
That was the first day.
Oh, see, all right.
Seems like it's been forever
I
ago.
just, once again, so 10 days later, and
Yeah.
yeah. So, any other questions for Dion? Again, thank you, Dion.
Thank you.
Item 5.02, superintendent's discussion groups. Mr. Vassar, anything?
Next Cedar Lake redevelopment is day after Labor Day, so nothing to report tonight.
And I don't have anything from Winfield, so moving on to 5.03. And being that this is our first time with all the cabinet members present at one board meeting, the list is long and distinguished. So let's see. It's switched order here on me, so I just want to make sure I got it right. Director of Grants and Assessments, Mr. Hardman.
Thank you, Mr. President and board members. Tonight I want to give you a brief overview of our staff evaluation plan. This is a requirement of the Indiana Code. I would say that the review of our staff evaluation, our certified staff evaluation plan is reviewed by the state each and every year. Last year, we did receive basically a perfect score. All required components are present, and I'm just going to kind of highlight those areas that are required for you tonight as we look to the 2023-24. First of all, every certified staff member does need to have a rating, an effectiveness rating at the end of the school year. To remind all of you, those ratings are highly effective, improvement necessary, or ineffective. And those in Crown Point schools are determined and provided by principals or supervisors or directors in the corporation. We do have protocols for many of our certified staff. Teachers is the largest group, but we also have protocols that are for our counselors, for some of our specialists, such as for hearing, behavioral, and vision, speech and psychologists, also media specialists that we have. Those protocols are focusing on specific domains, and they make up for us what we would say the professional practice component of our evaluation process. In order to review the professional practice, it's minimal that every certified staff member is observed twice. We do desire for teachers that are brand new to the profession that they would be observed many more times than 2 times, because they do need the additional support from the administration as well as from the mentors that they have. And then we do have a number of teachers that come to Crown Point, but they have experience. So the next tier, when we think about the number of observations, would be those that are in Crown Point but have experience. So you would see a number of more than 2 observations for those teachers. So your highest level will be you're new to the profession. Then we want to be able to observe our teachers that are new to Crown Point. And then finally, we have those that have 2 or more effective or highly effective ratings throughout during the past years. But minimally, they would be observed twice. We have 3 different types of observations that you might consider. The first one's a formal observation, which would start with a pre-conference with the administrator. That then sets the tone for, or the stage for the observation to occur. It identifies for the administrator what the lessons, what's going to take place, what the strategies are going to be used, and helps prepare the administrator to provide the appropriate feedback. That would be a formal observation. It concludes with a post-conference with teacher and or the certified staff member and the principal. So pre-conference, observation, post-conference. That'd be a formal. Informal would be coming right in off the street, as we say. That would be no pre-conference. You come into the classroom. We intend for the principal, the director, to stay for the course of a lesson. That doesn't necessarily mean for the entire period. What it means is to stay for that segment of the lesson. So there's the beginning and an end to that lesson. There might be another strategy that comes after that, but we want to see a actually see the start of a instructional strategy to the end of that conclusion, and see hopefully some type of formative assessment that takes place to see that students are learning. A third way of observations that comes into play is just collecting artifacts. Teachers can submit artifacts, as well as principals, administrators can ask for artifacts that helps to inform the observation. In addition to professional practice, student achievement and growth can be used to inform the proficiency level of our staff, our certified staff. The main focus is not necessarily passing the test or passing a test, it's growth. So how do we determine growth to be able to see that our staff members are working towards helping students to learn? As I mentioned, we have 3 different types of staff that we focus on. Brand new teachers to the profession. Many years ago, it was determined that we really wanted to help teachers to be successful in those first years. And for those first year teachers, for those of us that remember that, probably the biggest place that we want to focus on is classroom management, adherence to rules, helping relationships. So there's a big focus in that area, as well as targeting the right learning for our students. So we've narrowed down the protocols to basically 5 different protocols that we really want to focus on, which we believe gets teachers off to a good start. When we come to the group that is experienced but new to Crown Point, we've identified about 3 specific things. Learning goals. We want to be able to look at formative assessment of our staff, as well as relationships that they're building. And then we also want them to continue their growth, and they do a professional growth plan. And it's those things that make up basically the observations that take place for our staff that are brand new to Crown Point, as well as have experience. And then we have those that have been with us 2 or more years effective or highly effective. They do a professional growth plan. But when a administrator comes into the classroom and observes them, they are using the protocols and identifying those strategies that they are using, and looking for those things, that formative assessments, the relationships, the professional practice for that to occur. There is a requirement by the state of Indiana for if there is a teacher that is showing negative impact on student learning, that teacher cannot be effective or highly effective. So the question becomes, what is negative impact? Well, it goes to growth. So if you see a teacher, based on the growth percentiles that we have, that is really at a low level, or they're significantly lower than other teachers in the district, then that could be identified as a teacher with a negative impact, and we would be then looking at an intervention plan for that teacher to be able for them to improve. As I mentioned, all of our teachers that have experience provide a professional growth plan, and that plan is targeting the different protocols that are embedded within their evaluation. The goal is to look at something and identify something with your principal that you would like to continue to grow in. This is not just choose something that you're already good at, but to really move ourselves forward and challenge ourselves to continue the growth in our professional practice. And so every teacher does submit a professional growth plan. It is reviewed by the principals, and it is used in the observation process. If an intervention is necessary, there is a outline plan that goes into effect, and it can be implemented immediately, and it can affect the effectiveness rating of a teacher. So that we're, again, trying and supporting our teachers to do the best they can. We know that there's problems that do arise with our staff, and we want to be able to address those, and we do have a plan in process for that. Only administrators and directors are those that will observe. So we do not have any certified teachers that are observers. It's all administrators or our directors that do that. And another piece of this that's a requirement, we do fulfill all the requirements from the state of Indiana and what's really good is we've never had ineffective teachers. Okay? Ineffective teachers are not part of Crown Point schools, and therefore this requirement of notifying parents if you've been taught 2 years by an ineffective teacher, we meet that by default because we don't have any ineffective teachers. The evaluation plan is posted on the website, and it is presented to you tonight for you to hear, answer, give me any questions that you might have, and then we are required to post it, submit it to the state by September 15th.
Any questions or concerns with Mr. Hartman?
No. Thank you, Mr. Hardman. That was a terrific presentation. I did have just one question. You had mentioned part of the evaluation of certified staff was based upon student growth percentiles.
Yes.
What assessment is that based on?
Well, if you're in, from K through 10, we have NWEA to look at that. We also will receive some federal growth percentiles for iLearn. Those can be, but the primary one will be NWEA. When you get to grades in 11 and 12, you're looking at the courses within Buzz and how students are performing on those assessments that are common for a common course.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your effort and that report, Mr. Hartman. 5.04, Director of Elementary Education, Mr. Chikina.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. I am very appreciative of all the work our schools did to prepare for many new students and families with redistricting and new families moving to the community. Each building hosted some additional beginning of the year events and transition activities, including kindergarten kickoff, popsicles on the playground, and open houses to welcome new students and returning students to the new school year. Lots of teachers and staff members participated in all of those events, which is very appreciated. A lot of planning and preparation went into these opportunities, and they were very important to help our students and families get off to a great start, especially those starting at a new school. Also, I'm really proud of our teachers, staff, and leaders who, amongst some different changes with construction and redistricting, have definitely created safe, engaging, and supportive learning opportunities and environments for our students. As I've spent time in our buildings over these first couple weeks, it is very clear that our learners, our staff members, and our teachers are working hard, they're enthusiastic, and they have lots of smiles and excitement to start the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chikina. Director of Secondary Education, Mrs. Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. President and board members. I too would like to thank our administrators, staff, our families, and our teachers for all of their hard work in a successful start to the school year. It was very exciting to be able to go to Taft and Wheeler's open houses, which occurred last week, and to see the families really engaging in at Taft, the new building, Wheeler, a lot of familiar faces and being very welcomed. We have the Crown Point High School open house happening this Wednesday, so we look forward to closing out our open houses at the secondary level. I'd also like to thank the opportunity, I think, at the high school for the students' schedule to be walked by the parents. So the parents will bring their child's schedule, they get to meet their teachers and see what it's like to navigate the building and to become more familiar with the teachers with whom their student will be working with. And part of that feedback that we've historically gotten is really how happy families are and students are that we have such robust course offerings at the high school, that we're really able to meet the interests of our students. We're constantly looking for new opportunities for our students to meet their post-secondary plans, whether that's with new courses, with extracurriculars. We are very fortunate and very thankful to the board for your support of our students and their graduation pathway. I'd also like to thank our members of our ELL team who supported and created a summer enrichment program this summer. Colonel Wheeler was very kind to host us, and so I thank Jake Rodriguez and Dana Toriano for providing nursing support. But we had 35 of our elementary students participate in what was called SOAR Around the World, and they had an opportunity in a very inclusive setting to get to meet other students. They took field trips, they did crafts, they did readings that were culturally related, so they really got to not only be valued and honored, but got to learn about other students who they may not have had the opportunity to meet, as this was open to all 7 of our elementary schools. So it was just a great addition to our summer course offerings, and I would like to specifically thank Anna Retzlaff, Fiona Suttle, Viola Zarnowski, and Cindy Anderson for their direct involvement in creating and executing this wonderful opportunity for our families.
Thank you, Mrs. Ramirez. 5.06, Director of Exceptional Education, Mrs. Paskus.
Good evening, President Angel, members of the board. I want to echo some statements of appreciation To our administrators, teachers, and paraprofessionals who helped make transitions to new schools easier for our students. Staff agreed to come in to the buildings additional times beyond Bulldog Rush to give our students and their families opportunities to walk through the new buildings, whether it was Taft, an actual new building, or a new building to them because of redistricting, and that just helped, I think, ease everyone's nerves and fears about the change. I have to thank our two secretaries in the exceptional ed department, Sean Dunn and Holly Hume, who ensured all of our new staff and existing staff had whatever they needed to get started. You know, we onboarded 17 certified staff over the summer. That's in addition to our existing staff. And then, as you might have seen on the personnel report, there's 30 plus new para hires. So I have to thank Kelly Oost, my assistant director, and Andrea Avila, our elementary coordinator, and Christy Dreschel, our secondary coordinator, who really handle all the para interviews and hiring. So I want to thank them.
Thank you, Mrs. Paskus. 5.07, Assistant Superintendent, Mr. Gianfermi.
Thank you, Mr. President, board members. Again, I guess when you move down the list, you do have to echo what's been said before you, but just a big appreciation and thank you to our teachers, staff, and administrators for launching a successful school year. It's always difficult to launch it when you throw a few extra obstacles in there, and they've just done an amazing job, and kids are in classrooms and learning, and that's what it's all about. So big thank you to all of them. Also, a thank you to our first responders, and in particular, our Director of Safety and Security, Dave Colson, and Officer Jim Poling for organizing all the EMA and police officers doing the traffic. Again, that makes me feel a lot better knowing everything that is happening out there, that they're out there helping get people in and out of school on a daily basis. And it's a pretty big project to do every year, and they have that going well, and it helped with the start of school. And then finally, just a comment, Friday night at the varsity football game. And I'm not going to talk anything about the football game, but I'm just going to talk about how great it is to be in a community when you have Fight Against Leukemia initiative going on, and then you look up in the stands and you see all those orange shirts. I don't love orange, but for one night we were able to put away our red and white, and it's great to live in a community that will come together for a good cause like that. So appreciate everyone that participated in that as well.
Thank you, Mr. Gianfermi. There's just something here I got to play here before the next one. That's about as much technology that I can put through in one night.
Well done.
But 5.08, Chief Human Resource Officer, Mr. Akiwa. I thought it was the most fitting. Everybody loved Mr. Cotter, right? Yeah.
Mr. President, board, everybody, thanks for that welcome. It means more than you know, and I'm going to kind of keep going a little bit here because I think if you sit and reflect a little bit on where we're at right now, we're talking a historical window of time in the Crown Point Community School Corporation. I mean, I'm not certain we'll ever see anything of this magnitude when it comes to construction, reorganization, reformatting things we're doing. You're talking about redistricting the East Coast, going K-5. That's no small move, and just the expansion everywhere. So from the HR standpoint, I just want to, on so many levels, thank everyone for the team effort to staff ourselves so well in the midst of what we're experiencing. And I'm not kidding. Hats off to everybody. You know, on my in my absence too. You know, I don't want to get choked up here, but I just want to thank everybody for everything they've done. Everybody put in a lot of extra time and wearing some new hats as well through the process. But I can share that we have certainly staffed ourselves well when we start to look at our instructional staff and additional staff members that support instruction or work in concert with our teachers from the certified level and support staff. We are in a very good place. And I speak to HR representatives from individuals in Lake County, Porter County, and other parts of the state, and we are sitting very, very well right now. And we've got some folks we always need to fine. And if I can move to the big four, when I say the big four, that's technology, that's transportation, that's food service, and buildings and grounds. And listening, chiming in with some of those folks, Mr. Molaski is fully staffed. In fact, he's built up his substitute pool dramatically this year, so our buildings and grounds crew is in fantastic shape. I think it goes without saying, our technology folks here, with everything that they're taking on right now, just want to thank them for the incredible amount of stress they're enduring right now to implement some new softwares and technology in our classroom. So Brian, way to go, and hats off to your staff. Transportation. Last year we transported just over 5,800 students, okay? This year we're transporting approximately 6,500. Now, we didn't gain all those students. This has to do with rerouting. If we just look at Taft by itself, and where did Taft move from? It moved from walkable location to a not so walkable location. So hats off to Marty and his crew for doing a wonderful job dealing with a very, very big challenge. And I do want to also just give a shout out to Marty, who's also increased our bus driver staff, the quantity, and also making some incredible cultural changes too inside that department. So way to go, Marty. Pam is Maloney, our amazing food service director. Just looking for a few more floor workers in a few areas, but they always rally. But I can say at this time right now in all of our departments and our school buildings, we are in a super position right now for staff members. And where we are short, we usually are short in those areas at this time of year. So Crown Point is a fortunate community in that we draw applicants. And one last example is at the last month, we saw some increase out of the East Coast in enrollment at the elementary level. We needed to hire 3 elementary teachers at 0 hour. From our morning meeting at 7 a.m., we had 3 teachers onboarded by 1:30, same day, in a teacher shortage environment. So thanks to everyone involved in keeping the positive momentum going in a very challenging but exciting window. That's all I have. Once again, it's good to be back.
Thank you, Mr. Kiwa. 5.09, Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Reese.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. One of the multitude of reports that we get to submit out of the business office is the collective bargaining report, which basically highlights the amount of pay that we pay to our certified teachers from our contract in the school corporation. Some interesting numbers I'd like to share with you regarding that report. During the 22-23 school year, we had our experience for our staff was 5,890 years of experience on the teaching staff. I thought that was a really interesting number. That's up from over 5,600 the year before, which people come back, that's 1 for every teacher. It makes sense, about 270, 300 years of experience. The other interesting fact that came out, if you look at our average salary in 21-22, it was just shy of $68,000, or $67,797. For the 22-23 school year, our average salary for our certified staff was $71,250. So an increase of almost $3,500 per teacher. Pretty excited about that. You asked, why was it not the number that we agreed to in the contract? That's because some people leave, and so not everybody sees that increase. Some other interesting facts. What they do as part of this report is they give you the average salary statewide from the previous year. So for 21-22, the average salary across the state of Indiana was $56,616. That's the average salary across the state of Indiana. One of the other questions that they ask on here is, how many teachers do you have below that average salary? And I'm happy to report for the first time, and I don't know many that can do this same thing, but our number of teachers below the state average was 0. Every single teacher in the Crown Point Community Schools makes more than the state average for the state of Indiana. Pretty excited about that and your commitment, the community's commitment through the referendum to teacher salaries. Can't thank them or you enough for moving the corporation along in that manner. So thank you very much, and thought those were some interesting facts.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. 5.10, Director of Communication, Mrs. Allen.
Thank you. Good evening. I want to give a quick thank you to the City of Crown Point for hosting us at their National Night Out event. We were able to interact with quite a few families. I think they said they had 600 to 700 people there. Just a great event right before school started. We took a school bus out there, and I think that was one of the favorite things that evening. And Marty Freeman was there. He was able to talk to some families about transportation, and just a really good opportunity to connect with folks.
And Brooke picked out the booth spot right in front of the speaker system, so it was
Yeah.
awesome.
It was a little loud, but we did okay. We persevered. You mentioned our tour night at Taft that's coming up. That's September 21st from 4 to 6 p.m. That's open to anyone in the community that would like to come and take a look at the building. Students will be the ones giving the tour. They've become well-versed now in walking people through the building compared to our first day when they didn't know which way to go at all. I do want to thank Dion and Johnny for their help in preparing the building for our ribbon cutting ceremony. Not just that day, but what many people don't know is that the day before, we hosted our media partners for a walkthrough and for photos. And because of that, we had more than 250,000 individuals that we reached through that media coverage in the span of just 3 or 4 days. So big impact for us. So thank you to them for all of their hard work.
Thank you, Mrs. Allen. Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Terrell.
So I have several items this evening. It's going to be a little bit longer than normal, but just some that I think are really important that we point out. The first one, I need to make a statement regarding the letters who were sent to our constituents regarding the cyber event that took place. On July 26th of this year, statements went out to people. So in order to provide a required legal notifications about the network breach in a timely manner, and according to each state's law, Crown Point Schools hired Dauntless Discovery. Their role was to sort and contact information and data, create a required notifications, and ensure the correct notifications were mailed to each individual. When our school community began informing us about the large number of incorrect mailings they were receiving, we insisted that Dauntless Discovery investigate why this was happening. Last week, Dauntless Discovery informed us that they had made an error during the creation of the data file while filtering the file. That error resulted in more than 1,600 individuals receiving wrong or duplicate mailings. We are beyond frustrated that their error and their delayed response regarding the error caused such confusion in our community. We have insisted on a refund for their services. We also asked Dauntless Discovery to issue a formal explanation to our school community, and they have not yet responded to that request. So we're continuing to work through that process. Appreciate people's patience, but know that we're continuing that ongoing process to correct that situation with Dauntless. Next one, tonight, Denise Jansen is here, who is not unusual. Denise has been with us almost every board meeting since I've been here in the corporation, and has been the active president of Crown Point Educators Association. And want to thank her for her service. She told me this is her last one. Yeah, let's give her a round of applause. Thank you. She told me that this is officially her last one. Next time she's going to watch from home, and I said, surely not. But want to thank her and appreciate the teamwork that we've had, the partnership there. Also want to welcome, we've got 2 people replacing Denise, so Hillary Laborde, who is not here with us this evening, but Michelle Bunch is present with us, and they are acting as co-presidents, leading the association moving forward. So those of you who were here our first staff day, Michelle did a fabulous job speaking. And we appreciate, actually, I think did you speak? You had Hillary speak.
No, I was the support person.
Yes, that's right. Hillary, and that's why Michelle's here tonight. They kind of like drawn. Anyway, we look forward to working with them. Think it's going to be a great team, so we appreciate you being here with us as well. Start of school, you've heard what everybody had. I think it's just been amazing. Was mentioned before about the Big Four, our directors of support services. I can tell you that on weekends, Saturdays, Sundays, I've seen Mike in buildings, Brian. I mean, there are times I'm in a building at 8:30 at night, and Brian and Jim are still there working. and I leave and they're still there working. I can tell you that Marty and his wife have spent time walking subdivisions and talking to people about bus routes and where it might be better to have a different bus route. And I think that really has impacted movement of some things to really get the best services for our people. So appreciate them just going above and beyond. State of the schools this year, we were not able to have that, as you guys are aware, because of simply a location, really, to host this. So Brooke put together this document with the assistance of Cabinet to really go through. I think it's something that has turned out to be a really well done, information-filled publication that we will be passing out at coffee talks, at different events that we'll be hosting, and wanted you guys to have an opportunity to preview that as well before we start passing that out. As always, Brooke did an amazing job with it. Brooke, anywhere else that I'm missing that we're going to be publishing these or putting them out? Okay. So thank you to Brooke and what she did there. So with that being said, again, August 16th came and went on, not without, I'm not going to say without a hitch. There's always issues that come up with the start of school. The individuals who sit before you tonight at these tables, I can't thank them enough for the work that they put into this. Typically, we get to that first day of school and it's almost like we all just take a deep sigh of relief because we needed school to start. A lot of that, that's what we do. And here we're typically 4, 6, 8 weeks ahead of the process. So for us, it was a huge relief and all the planning to see it actually come to where things are working out the way they're supposed to. I think our high school enrollment right now is within 5 or 6 of what the demographer told us it would be. And verified by Matt's numbers as well. So it's just amazing to see how all of those things have really come together to put us in a great start of the school year. So appreciate you guys, your support, and look forward to a great school year coming up.
Thank you, Dr. Terrell. Item 6.01 is other business of the board. Just a couple notes from my perspective. We have the fall Indiana State School Board Association Fall Conference, the 24th of September through the 26th. I know I will be in attendance. Mr. Vassar, Ms. Bazin, Mr. Babjack, are you attending this year, or?
Doubtful.
Okay. With that being said, then, just the part of this was the school board meeting has been moved up to the third Monday of September, so that's September 18th, to make sure duly noted in your calendars. Other mentions of any other board business? September 18th. Diana, was there a date already for the dinner at Teebles, for lack of a better term? Yet, have you seen one yet for the fall? Not as of yet. Okay, just want to make sure if we had that date, we'll pass it along. No other at that time? With that, we'll move on to 7.01, board statements of appreciation and recognition. Oh, Mr. Vassar, sorry.
There's been a lot of them tonight. Thanks, Artie, for telling me that that was a question I had, but you beat me to it about the number of students that ride the buses. So I've thanked the bus drivers before. 6,500 individuals are riding those buses every day. So not only thank the bus drivers, but the mechanics who keep those buses running. Because they're not running, we're in big trouble. So many thanks to those folks.
Ms. Bazin?
All right, so I hate to be very wordy with my appreciation for everyone. It is so good to see Artie back. And a huge amount of appreciation goes out to all of the cabinet and Dr. Terrell for continuing to lead the group while Artie was out and his transition back and everything. It's so nice to see his positivity, which is just an aura that follows him. So it's great to see him back tonight. I wanted to also thank Skillman. The buildings look amazing. I know there's still a work in progress, which leads me to my next one. Thank you always to our teachers. Having experienced the first day many times under different scenarios, never once did I get to experience a first day under construction with redistricting. I've done some of those along the way in my time, but a huge thank you to our teachers. They and our administrators at those buildings. My children in particular are attending new buildings. Brooke, the coordinating of all of our efforts leading up to the first day with the redistricting and making students feel comfortable, getting those things shared on social media. Teachers for coming to extra things. I know we did popsicles on the playground at Timothy Ball. And those folks are out there on their own time, their last, drops of summer with their own families and doing their own thing. And they're out there handing out popsicles, meeting families. So that was wonderful. There's even a new administrator at our building. And so that, it's been a huge transition, I'm sure, for all of them in the midst of construction. So thank you so much to everybody involved in putting in so much extra effort. And then to go along with the first day, my kids felt completely welcomed with open arms. They didn't feel, awkward or new. And that is a huge testament to our teachers in those buildings going above and beyond, making sure that they're not just doing their curriculum teaching, but they're truly making these children feel like a part of a community. And I know I can say my kids already feel that way. Same thing at Wheeler, it's the same school, but I think almost 80% of their population flip-flopped from Taft, and even walking in the secretaries in those buildings were excited to get to know somebody new coming in, introducing themselves to parents. So all the way across the board, an absolutely amazing job. And those are my personal sentiments, but those have been echoed. Everyone I've talked to has said, kind of the same story. So that's a kudos to everybody involved. I'm so proud to be able to be a part of such an awesome corporation, especially through such large transition pieces with redistricting, construction. So you guys are amazing.
Thank you. Mr. Badger?
Welcome back, buddy. It's great to see your face. It's been a long time. I know you went through a lot, man. It's like totally awesome to see you sitting there. Matt, thank you for the update on those numbers, seeing those average teacher salary increases. That was a pretty cool thing to see. I wasn't aware of what those numbers were recently. I know several years ago, I had some conversation with Ryan about that, and we've kind of made that a point of emphasis. And I think, I don't know if it necessarily happens without Todd's leadership. Probably does not happen under previous leadership. So thank you to Todd for helping drive that as well.
Thank you. I have a couple this evening, actually. First, all those behind the scenes for the Taft ribbon cutting. Brooke, I know you're a big integral part of that. Tracy Seibert and everybody else, make sure their names get mentioned, because that was just a wonderful event. Formal yet informal, between them doing the time capsule thing and just having a few people speak with a student, a teacher, just really well put together. And then the tours and all that. I mean, as much as it was somewhat in a little disarray walking through areas, everybody got through safely and got to see what the end result will be here shortly. So thank you to all involved in that. And then one of my favorite events, the back to school ceremony with the cheerleaders, the band, pompous circumstances, bad joke telling, but we won't mention any names. But just a wonderful, I just love that event. I mean, you can feel the energy. It kind of brings us back to our days when you had pep rallies and stuff like that, and you just feel and everybody's smiling. I mean, as much as they're, deep down, there's probably a few that are sad that they're back in, the job for the next 9 months. But at the same time, they have smiles on their faces, and it was all exciting. So, and then just one more thing kind of to add to what they've said. If you think about this, we went back to school with construction projects at every building, and 9,000 approximate kids total in a school corporation, and this is the board meeting after school started. Yes, where there's some small glitches, whether it be bus routes, whatever it may be, but it's just a testament to all of you behind the scenes that run the day-to-day operations, to where we had very, very few incidents of anything that was more than, a leaf falling from a tree, so to speak. So that is pretty incredible when you actually put that in perspective of what is accomplished, knowing what we're going through, knowing what type of education they're going to receive, and yet the number one goal was to get these kids in school on time, in buildings that aren't perfect, but yet are getting there, and no interruption to that, classroom day and learning time and instruction. So that goes to all the teachers involved behind the scenes with that as well, and everybody that's pitching in and maybe doing something they normally wouldn't do just to make sure it works without flaws. So I always say this when I'm out in public. I am very, very honored to serve as a board member in this community with the other board members, knowing that not all the time is it going to be perfect, but everybody's working to make it as close to perfect as possible. So With that, I will, oh,
I'm sorry, I totally overlooked it. Dion, thank you for the update tonight. I really appreciate that. That's something that I had asked Scott for. It was much better to have the update here because I was like getting really close to at football practice when people were asking me about the turf. I'm like, gosh, the guy that's in charge of it is all right over there. But I don't think I did that one time, so I appreciate it
I
very
can
much.
promise you 3 years ago, that conversation would have happened. Am I not accurate with that, Scott?
Yes,
All right,
very
so-
correct.
So we're all good. So nobody else has anything else? I'll look for a motion to adjourn. Motion by Ms. Basin, second by Mr. Babjack. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries 4-0.